Good morning.
It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this morning, Mr. Johnny Williams. Mr. Williams graduated in 1980 with a Bachelor of Science degree in health from the University of North Alabama. Presently, Mr. Williams is the owner of Creative Marketing Management LLC, which he founded in 2007. Clients that he represents include Dan Whitney, which we all know as basically Larry the Cable Guy. Jacksonville State University, ESPN Regional, Fast Health Corporation, and the International Bowl played in Canada. Previous jobs include serving as Senior Associate Athletic Director, which encompasses communications, public relations, marketing, and promotions at the University of Alabama from 2004 through 2007, and serving as the Athletic Director at Troy State University, now known as Troy State.
Troy University.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Troy University. Thank you for the corrections there. From 1994 through 2000. Prior to getting into the administration and communication aspects of athletics, Mr. Williams gained a wealth of knowledge through his coaching experience. From 1988 through 1994, he served as football defensive coordinator at Troy State University, as well as defensive line coach from 1985 through 1987. Mr. Williams' honors and accomplishments are numerous and include the General Robert Nealon Award for Athletic Director of the Year in 2003. Last Thursday, Mayor Kyle Strange and Mr. Williams held a press conference to announce the College Football All-Star game to be played in the newly renovated Crampton Bowl. Mr. Williams is here to speak in his role as the Executive Director of that College Football All-Star game and discuss the events that's coming to our great city. Can we all welcome Mr. Williams?
That's a good job. I thought I was here by obituary. Good job there, though. But it is a pleasure to be with you this morning and to explain how we got this sign put up here and what brought this game back to Montgomery and give you a little insight in that. Of course, my life has been involved around football. To be very honest, we played college football, had a chance to coach, and all things got called one day by Chancellor and said, "Would you like to be our athletic director?" And I said, yes. And I get home, my wife says, "Are you sure that's what you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I'll try." So I went over to the administrative side, and it's been very rewarding for me and my family. And so very excited to be back in Montgomery today to share with you how we got here. We, a year ago, got contacted by the Central Alabama Sports Commission, a new organization I think that was put in place here a couple of years ago, Dr. Ken Blankenship. My company, what we do, we go and evaluate universities, and we help clients find sponsorships. We find universities, help find more money, try to grow their programs. I have a little track record of that when I was at Troy, and then at Alabama had oversight of that. So I reached out in 2007 and started my own company. Had my state retirement, and I launched out. And little did I know I was headed off to the next Great Depression, and the biggest depression in my lifetime. I had a guy tell me one time the difference between a recession and a depression. A recession is when your neighbor's out of a job. A depression is when you're out of one. But hopefully we got better days are coming. As we evaluated for the city and also the Central Alabama Sports Commission, they wanted a national event to come back to Montgomery. This city, as I've watched it from Troy and Tuscaloosa, is really exploding. I mean, this town is ripe. You know, there's a lot of positive things behind it. Of course, you got the state government here in town, and they create money, you know, and they keep creating jobs and stuff, so it keeps this economy moving. But as we looked around and explored what options the city had, first thing we looked at is a bowl game for Montgomery. And you think, well, the first thing you look at, we found out there's a moratorium on bowl games. There will be no more new bowl games to after 2014 when the NCAA and the Bowl Coalition decide their new formula starts, which is probably going to be a 14 playoff. And also, there's 35 bowl games. So as we look at the history of Montgomery, we noticed there was a blue-gray game here for 64 years. legendary. This game ceased in 2003. So as we looked at that and evaluated that game, we thought, what was the issues with that game that made it go away? Why did it not succeed? And as we looked at it, of course, it was traditionally always played on Christmas Day. And there got to be 35 bowl games. Those two ingredients there, we felt like, marketing-wise, it limits the ability of that team, the game, to have, quote, fan-friendly players, marketable type players to generate sponsorships, ticket sales, and all that comes along with having a successful event. So we approached the city, or the group, and Meryl, Todd Strange is the kind of the main focus here about, well, we recommend to you that you ought to bring this game back, or a game like that, to Montgomery. There's a need for it. The game in Hawaii had folded because of travel. The Hula Bowl is no longer in business. The East-West game, which was in San Francisco for 35 to 40 years, had moved to Orlando, and it's now moved to Tampa, and it's really struggling. And the reason those games are struggling, one, for travel, but that game's struggling because you go to Orlando, Florida, there's so much to do, you don't want to do anything. That's true, really, if you know what I mean. So as we moved forward with that, they came back and said, look, we really want this game, but we don't want to, we're not entrepreneurs, we're trying to attract events. So they reached out to me and said, why don't you look and try to bring this game back? So I left here that last November. I live still in Tuscaloosa, and I decided, well, I understand football, I understand games, I understand events, and so as I looked at this, I thought this is really a golden opportunity, but it's going to take one key ingredient for this game to succeed, or have even a chance. So I went to New York, Philadelphia, and to Charlotte, met with NBC, CBS, and ESPN, and shared with them our vision, my vision, the city's vision, Central Alabama Sports Commission's vision. Then we have a wealth of history here, success. Our community has just invested $30-something million in their infrastructure, their stadium, this new indoor facility, laid out the dynamics that I saw as an opportunity here, and there's a need for another game like this, a high-end college all-star game. Plus, we're hosting it in the mecca of college football, the state of Alabama. Let's don't neglect that fact. The state of Alabama, probably, I don't know how you rank industries, but you'd have to rank the football industry as one of the top industries within this state. So why should we not embrace it? And there's executive with Mr. Dan Weinberg looked at me and he says, well, what's going to make this game any different? Of course, CBS is who I was visiting with at that time. He agreed to do the game. CBS Sports Network, this game be televised. He said, how are we going to make this game just not another game? And I said, well, I can't. I only control 3 hours. That'll be the game. I said, Dan, you can do all you want to. You got a channel. You got a network 24/7. You can promote this game. You can put it on the SEC Game of the Week and promote it. So they agreed to come in as partners. And so we're excited about bringing this game back. The game will be January the 19th. It's a Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock in Crampton Bowl. So it gets us off of Christmas Day. It also is the week prior to the Senior Bowl, which is played in Mobile. And as we visit with several NFL teams about their thought about this game and their recommendation of when to play it, they said, whatever you do, Johnny, why don't you put it either before or after the Senior Bowl? Because if you don't know, the Senior Bowl, it took the lead of Montgomery. Montgomery had the Blue-Gray game. And about 10 years later, or 12 years later, the city of Mobile decided to have a college all-star game. So they started the Senior Bowl. And the NFL became involved because they looked at it as a port city, the beach and all that stuff. They started having their unofficial convention. All the executives, the coaches, their scouts come watch that game, but they also network for 2 or 3 days about jobs. Tremendous turnout. They'll have 3,000 or 4,000 officials surrounding that game just come to Mobile. So by us playing it the week before, we're going to get feed off that. We're going to feed off that, and we're going to bring it here for the week before, and then hope they'll go right on down the road and evaluate players there. We also looked at who are we going to have to coach this game. When we had the game was here, played here before with the Blue Gray, it was always a college head coach, and it was players who were not in a bowl game, where you're marking to put together the game. So what we've decided to do is we're going to have a solid NFL presence. We are in negotiation and dialogue with former NFL head coaches to come in and be our head coaches, to run practice, run the game like the NFL runs it. It is totally different. The NFL has 47 players on Sunday when they go out on the field. University of Alabama and Auburn have 90. It's just a different atmosphere altogether. So we think that'll add a lot to our game too as we go out and recruit players to come to this game. So the next key is, how do we recruit players? Anytime you recruit, it's a one-on-one. It's relationships, and then over time, hopefully our event will grow that they'll just identify with it. So I reached out and we put together a committee. It's going to be headed by a fellow named Joe Pendry. Coach Pendry coached our offensive line at the University of Alabama. When I was there, we hired Coach Saban. The first person who walked in the door 10 hours after Coach Saban arrived was Joe Pendry. And don't be wrong, Joe Pendry is the offensive mind behind the University of Alabama's football team. He was the NFL offensive coordinator on 4 different teams. He spent 20 years in the NFL. He was Bobby Bowden's offensive coordinator at West Virginia. And Coach Pendry and I became good friends. My son played for him at Alabama the last few years, so we became closer friends. But he retired last year and reached out to me and said, Johnny, I want to be involved in some of your consulting or whatever, if we find something to do together. So we kind of worked together on this project. And Joe's going to be a valuable asset to help us make calls, recruit the top-end players to come to the game. Then I looked at Oval James. Oval James worked for my company. We did a feasibility study for Jacksonville State University back in 2008 for them to possibly move up to the FBS. And Oval called me a few weeks later and said, the AD, Jim Fuller, was retiring. And Oval now, Oval James was Pat Dye's senior associate AD. Oval had been a coach for Coach Dye at East Carolina. And when it got to Auburn, really what happened, there wasn't enough jobs to go around. Coach Dye was the AD and the head coach. And he said, oh, why don't you run the office and I'll run the team. So Oval is going to come with us and help us also recruit players to help manage the game. And then we have a fellow named Jim Goodman. Jim Goodman, 1976, was my dorm director at the University of North Alabama. He was a graduate assistant coach. He went on to become the general manager of the Denver Broncos. John Elway took his place a few years, 3 or 4 years ago, and now Jim's retired at Liberty Bonifay. So he's going to come on board and also help us understand who the top players are and help us recruit those players. And then Larry New, who I knew through coaching, coached with Bill Curry at Alabama. He's retired now, lives over in Greensboro, Georgia. Spent 42 years coaching in Arkansas, Louisville, Virginia, Georgia Tech. So we've got 4 guys there that are going to be here to help us, and they're already starting working with us to help find the players and recruit the players, bring their knowledge to the game. And then one other fellow we brought on board is a local presence, Mr. Jim Carruthers. Jim Carruthers and I go back 40 years. You know, my old coach, when I played for a guy named Mickey Andrews and a guy named Wayne Grubb, took his place at the University of North Alabama. And every day he would come out to practice, and he'd make a couple of statements, but he would just repetitive. Football's a repetitive game. And he'd always say, who you know will get you there, what you know will keep you there. And I say that every day. Who you know will get you there, what you know will keep you there. Well, I know Jim Carruthers, okay? Jim Carruthers, I guess you could say we're kind of, well, almost kin, but he was married to one of my relatives 40 years ago. Our age is starting to show, but anyway, Jim's been your general manager of the CBS affiliate here in town, WAKA, and just retired within the last year. Jim and I reached out to Jim really about 8 or 9, 10 years ago. If you remember, some of the Troy games used to be on CBS. We'd go off and broadcast our games back to this marketplace. We'd produce it ourselves, and we had to have a affiliate to carry it. He started carrying some of our games, but Jim's come on board with us to help us locally to identify sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, this will not be driven by ticket sales for this game to succeed. And that's not a negative, that's just a fact. We don't have the passion around our game like they do at Alabama and Auburn that you're willing to pay the Tide Pride and $75 for just a face value ticket. You know, it's hard for me to pay that. I'm used to getting it free and all these things. But the passion makes people do that. The passion to be a part of it. And hopefully at some point we'll do that with our game, but that's not going to get us where we need to be for a while. Okay, so we're going to need people to step up by tickets for their employees to attend the game. We're going to need you to step up by signage at the stadium or video board presence or TV commercials, because we do have 28 units within the game that we have opportunity to sell those commercials. So there's a variety of of packages we're going to put together and come back to the local community, not only here but national. There's people nationally that are looking at this game that have a lot of interest because football sells. There's a reason why there's 35 bowl games. There's a reason why all these teams are changing conferences. Just follow the money. There's a lot of money out there. So we're excited about the game. And coming back to Montgomery couldn't be a better place. And to be honest with you, we approached some major sponsors and even some of the networks, and they said, why Montgomery? You know, why not put this in Dallas at Jerry World, you know, in their new stadium? Or why not? We had one strong sponsor who was almost willing to be our title sponsor. Said, well, we would do it, but we don't want to come to a small, quote, market. And I said, well, let me tell you where you're missing it. Because in a town, which isn't, I don't call this a small market, I think we're about 80th in this, if you looked at the television markets around the nation, Jim would know exactly what we're talking about. How much? 110. But this football in our state reaches deep and people react to it. And we think we're going to capture the market with our game. It's very evident. Last week when we had our press announcement, 4 of the affiliates here in town, and I think 2 of them carried it live on TV. That doesn't happen in Dallas. It won't happen in Orlando. That's why the game's struggling. That's why it's not going to survive. I'm sure the Orlando Center won't even write anything about that game or Tampa Tribune. So we have an opportunity here, though, because we do have people's attention. It is what we think is going to be a game where we have heavy SEC presence. There'll probably always be Alabama and Auburn players, Troy, Jacksonville, Tuskegee. You know, we're going to have the ability, and we're not going to go east, west, north, south with this game. This game's going to have a patriotic theme to it. We're going to try to have unique names for our 2 teams so we can move players around. The Senior Bowl went to that just a few years ago where they went AFL, NFL with their 2 teams. So we're also, the week of the game, the players will come in on a Sunday, and the game will be Saturday. Each night, we're going to try to have a special event for the players to enjoy, but not only the players, for fans to enjoy. Practice will be open every day. We'll do all of our practices in the stadium. One team will practice in the morning, and one will practice in the afternoon. And then that night, we'll have a joint function. And we'll try to create those in the sense that what we do, teams do at bowl games. It could be, we want to reach out and take this event to all facets of our community, whether it's at Prattville, Wetumpka, a bit at Troy, or whatever. You know, we want to try to make the whole community be a part of this. And then also, the night before, the day of, well, maybe the day of, this new indoor facility. I don't know if you've had a chance. You probably have all seen it being built. But what the mayor and the city leaders here did when they had the vision to build that, it is a multi-use facility, but it's tied into a football stadium. There's nothing like it I know of pretty much in the country, because you have an 80-yard by 80-yard wide building, open space without any columns, that has windows looking out in the field, that once you enter that building, you're basically in the stadium. So game day from 2 o'clock, from about 10 o'clock to 2, our plans are to have the biggest tailgate party that's ever hit this part of the world. I'll be honest with you. It don't matter what the weather's like. You know, January the 19th, it could be, I tell you what, it may be bad on the 19th, but it'll be good on the 20th. That's the good thing about living in Alabama. You just wait to the bar if you don't like today's weather. But it's going to be an atmosphere we think everybody's going to want to be a part of. We're going to bring in entertainment, you know, and try to make it a festive, because we want to turn it into not a game, it's an event. And this one game, our vision will be the catalyst to a lot of events even during the year. Like they do in Dallas with the Cotton Bowl, like they do in Miami with the Orange Bowl. You can use this one event, because once we get a structure in place where we can sell tickets, we have the volunteers in place, we know how to market the game, then we can do other events. So we're excited about that piece of it, and hopefully we can get this club involved in some way. That's something I'd like to come back a little later, whether it's a ticket campaign that you could help sell tickets and we'd give you a commission on what the group sold, or just volunteering at the game, or maybe putting on one of the events for the players one night. So I'm open the floor for questions. Hopefully I haven't told you more than I already know.
And how many tickets will be sold for that event? How many?
The capacity of the stadium, when I say capacity now, understand what I mean. The capacity of Crampton Bowl now is approximately 25,000 people. Now, if we went out there and put 22 inches for every seat, you're probably 22.5. So that don't just constrict. So that's why you sell general admission tickets to one side. So we'll have plenty of tickets. Will not be a problem. We hope it becomes a premium ticket. Ticket prices, we're going to keep them very fan friendly. You know, $15, $20 per person to get in, because we want the kids to be a part of this. We want the public to engage. As far as the fans now, you can come to practice, watch practice, and after practice, walk on the field and walk over and introduce yourself and take a picture of one of the players. You can't come to University of Alabama and walk out on our field and introduce yourself. You can't do it at Auburn either. But we're going to have a chance for the fans to really engage. Yes, sir.
You're going to be so close in time to the Senior Bowl, you won't have any of the same players won't duplicate the bowl.
Well, there may be some. There may be some. Yeah, no. Senior Bowl has 100 players. We'll have 100 players. The NFL evaluates roughly 2,000 seniors each year. And they spend a lot of money because there's a lot of money given out. But I'll give you an example. University of Alabama this past year, I think we had 3 players go play the Senior Bowl. We had 24 seniors. That means there's 22 players there. Auburn, I think, had 2 players play the Senior Bowl, and they had like 20. I think there's some players there that you would identify with that you would be excited about coming to Montgomery and play. Now, they may not fit the NFL profile, be first, second round draft choices, but we're going to work both sides of this. We're doing this not solely for the NFL. You don't see the NFL's logo on this board. And sometimes people get caught up in that. We're going to choose players who the fans want to see. We're going to engage the market, and we're going to bring some kids back here that may have gone off to play way off. We have lost track of them that are from the state of Alabama, this region. So we have the ability to make this unique event. And it's not solely for the best player. Well, that best player's, he's from Stony Brook. Well, where in the world's Stony Brook? Anybody know where Stony Brook is?
New York.
Gotcha, okay. Right outside of Long Island. Yes, sir.
As a young boy growing up in this city, we used to go to Winn-Dixie and buy $10 worth of grocery and get 2 tickets to the Blue-Gray game with $10 worth of grocery.
Right.
Because the money is not made on the individual ticket sales, sponsorship, right?
That's right.
So are you looking at doing something like maybe Sam's? Buy some insurance, buy car insurance, get 2 tickets. But I was asking, is because when you look at the time frame and trying to get 22 of these, I'm sure CBS wants to see.
Oh, they want to pack town.
They want to pack house.
Well, they want the east side to be packed. They don't care if everybody sits on the wing. It's for TV.
So I'm asking is.
No, absolutely. Let me say this. I was the athletic director of Troy State University. The last AD Troy State ever had, okay? Because when I left the next year, they changed it to Troy. No flood intended there. But we were averaging 1,800 people a game at Troy. Okay, had a stadium seat 12,000 people. We had to expand our stadium. We didn't have the marketability with our product, which was 1AA football, for people to get in a car in Montgomery and drive to Troy to watch a game. They'd do it from Montgomery. From Tuscaloosa to Auburn. So I had to get creative. What we did, they voted in June the 2nd to move to Division I. We had to sell 17,000 tickets by the first game. And that fell on my shoulders. I was excited about the opportunity. Don't get me wrong, okay? Everybody else cheered and left the meeting, but the board voted it through. But what we did, we came together and said, look, there's only one way we're going to survive. We're going to make this happen. We've got to go to corporate America. They've got to buy these tickets, turn around and use it as a gift for their employees to attend the game, have a family picnic, whether it's Sikorsky, who I'll give you an example.
Henderson Hardware.
Yeah, Henderson Hardware. He didn't buy it. I remember going to see Mr. Hicks. He used to run the Coca-Cola bottling company here in town before they changed over to their new platform, the Atlanta Group Bottling. And I asked him, Mr. Hicks, I need you to buy 500 season tickets. He said, what in the world would I do with 500 season tickets to a Troy game? I said, look, and I looked at his window. You know how he has all those trucks parked out there. And I said, look, on Friday morning, I want you to walk out here and have somebody pass every one of those truck drivers 50 tickets. And as they go through all the pink trails through South Alabama, they give out a free ticket. Because they ain't a person alive that doesn't want a free ticket. Right? Everybody wants a free ticket. No matter what the event it is. If it's junior high playing, everybody's wanting it free. It's for some reason they have this thing about a free ticket. Hey, they took the 500 tickets because I convinced him. Those 500 people show up, they're drinking Coca-Cola. So we're working together on this. And before it's over, he bought more tickets. And we sold 9,000 corporate tickets within 3 months at Troy. Now, we have to do that 4 years in a row. So it will work, but we need corporate America to step up. And if it's just 50 tickets for the folks, the 10 people who work for you and their families to come, or if it's Hyundai, which we've had to harden, matter of fact, we need to put them in charge of the Pentagon. They're harder to get to than I probably could get to Mr. Obama faster I get some of those people. But go ahead.
Will the players be paid at this game?
In some regard, we'll fly them, we'll house
No, I
them,
mean, as
physically
winner or
paid. If we're able to generate enough revenue, we have the ability to pay players. If you remember years ago, $1,000 per player and $1,500 if you won the game. And they gave an automobile away. That's one thing I've hit Hyundai up. We want y'all to give us some automobiles and offensive, defensive player driving your car out of here. What better promotion than that? But, somebody else had their hand up? Yes, sir.
Let's go back to the tickets again. How much of the seating in the stadium do you want to be corporate?
All of it.
All
Have
of
to.
it. So it's a total sellout,
Yes.
corporate America to either, corporate Alabama.
Well, whoever buys it.
To
Yeah, we'll have
utilize
individual
that
tickets
as a
and game day
promotional
tickets.
item, period.
Right.
Okay.
We want to sell as many of those tickets as we can, and we're going to create in that end zone. If you haven't seen that new building, it has a divider that'll hold almost 1,500, almost 2,000 people. We're going to create a high-end area like you have at Auburn at the President's Club or at Alabama in the Zone, where you can come eat a nice meal, watch the game in the inside, and then go back and forth with your tickets. So we're going to have some jokes.
What's the price of that corporate ticket?
Well, that's probably not called a corporate ticket. It's probably going to be closer to, $75
Oh.
a person, because we're going to feed a nice meal, and all your concessions would be tied to that. So we're going to try to have several levels of to reach out to people. We need to sell it out. We can't wait to game day to sell it out, because the weather may rain on us. Yes, sir.
Will this be televised nationally?
National.
CBS?
CBS Sports Network. Now, understand, this is
Not
not
CBS.
this is not Channel 8.
Right.
This is their ESPN, and they just hired Jim Rome to go to their channel. And I remember sitting there that day, he said, look, your timing's perfect, because our leadership has changed their mind. We've been the king of prime time. And we've never really focused much on all sports. We went and got the Masters, we got the NCAA basketball tournament, we got the NFL, but now we want to take our network, our cable network, which goes into 99 million homes that have access to it throughout the country, and worldwide, literally, and have access to do live events. And they've encouraged me, Johnny, we get this game going, we want you to look later at maybe a Labor Day game on a Sunday or a Monday, bring some teams in here, and we'll put it on TV again. We're looking for live programming or some other events that we could bring to Montgomery. So, we're excited about that opportunity.
Would it be blacked out here?
No, it will not. It will not. And you need to call your local cable provider if they don't carry that channel, and encourage them to carry it.
All right.
All right.
Any other questions?
I have two things. All right.